and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. As you've probably seen by the title of this video, this is going to be an endometriosis update. Now, for all of you who already know, any of my followers on Instagram, or if you've already watched my endometriosis update initial video, which is on my channel from last year, I will link it in the description box, then you will know that I had a laparoscopy last July. So July 2022 was the first time I went in for my surgery. I'm not going to go into my surgery too much or my story as such, because honestly you've got a 45-minute video over there that you can go and check out. Also, if you can hear my tummy, these are the kind of noises that I'm saddled with still, and I did have these noises in my tummy beforehand and I've still got them now. So I'm assuming if you're here, you're an endo warrior, and even if you're not, you're informing yourself, so I'm absolutely so grateful for that. But I just think anything goes, really, doesn't it, when it comes to bowel, bladder, women's areas, the lot. So yeah, if you hear the tummy, don't panic. I'm not starving, my tummy's just making noises because it likes to. So I'm recording this video very sporadically. I quickly asked on Instagram if any of you had any questions. If there's any specific questions, I'll try and answer them. But like I said, all of my journey, my symptoms, my diagnosis, how the surgery went, how successful it was or whatever, you can watch that in the video that I'll link below. I want to really talk about how I am now, 9 months on from surgery. So I had my surgery the last week in July. It was the hottest day of the year and there was no aircon in the hotel. In the hotel? It wasn't a hotel. In the hospital. And it's now the 17th of March, so it's nearly 9 months exactly. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Oh no, it's 8 months. 8 months on. It's Endometriosis Awareness Month. I thought, what better month to record this and spread some awareness, but also let you know how I'm getting on. This video is for you if you're wondering whether you should go ahead with surgery. This video is also for you if you're wondering what endometriosis is. This video is also for you if you're wondering how I got on after watching my first video. And to be honest, the more the merrier. The more people who can understand what endometriosis is, the more change we can make, the more awareness we can create, and the more understanding and empathy we can offer people who have endometriosis, because it really is a truly overlooked, awful, chronic, life-altering condition. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know I try to make light of it. I try to be as positive as possible. I try to look at things through the lens of how can we cope, what can we do to help, rather than doom and gloom, because the reality is it's not great. But if you have it, you know, it's just, sadly, you've got it, and there's not many solutions to this problem, let's put it that way. But I'm really excited to actually mention that I am now an ambassador for the Endometriosis Foundation. Carla is an absolute inspiration. She is the founder of the Endometriosis Foundation, so I'm going to be working really close with her to hopefully spread awareness, to try and implement some positive change, and to just bang the drum about endometriosis and the fact that we need more research, we need more solutions to this completely overlooked condition, hopefully bring in some other things that are going to make a lot of women's lives a lot easier. So that's what I'm really excited for. And the Endometriosis Foundation actually reached out to me when I was in my recovery bed and I had posted and let you all know I've been in for surgery. They asked if they could repost my story and my picture, and they did, and we've had a relationship ever since then. Recently went to the House of Lords for the launch and was asked to be an ambassador, so I'm super happy about that. I think the reason why I love the Endometriosis Foundation as well is because the resources online are just so great. Sometimes charities or sometimes information just out there isn't correct and it can be a total minefield. The word endometriosis was bantered about. I didn't have a clue what it was, and I hadn't even heard of it before, and I know that's still the same for many women, and the aim of the Endometriosis Foundation is for that to not be the case anymore, to have somewhere you can go and get help, advice, information which is accurate. It's just going to give you a little bit more insight into what it could be that you're dealing with. But anyways, you know what I'm like. I'm going to end up digressing. I'm going to end up being all over here, there and everywhere, so I'm going to try and keep this concise. Every time I start a video like that, it never ends up concise, but if you're here, then you know how we roll. Right, so general update, I would say I get a lot of questions on Instagram, and a lot of the questions are, I'm going in for my surgery, how long did it take for you to recover? Now, very, very quick overview. I was 32 when I was diagnosed, that was last year. I had an MRI which showed endometriosis, and then I had my laparoscopy. My surgeon was at the RVI, Mr. Chalub, and he used robotic surgery. So when I was at the launch of the Endo Foundation, like 2 weeks ago, one of the bowel surgeons from one of the London hospitals who was there, who's on the board of the charity, said that I must have been one of the first people to have the robotic excision surgery. Can you believe that? I showed him like my information from the hospital, and he was like, you were one of the first last July to have robotic surgery. And I was like, was that? I was just trying to survive her, and I was lying there thinking, am I alive? Yes, I am, thank God. But I literally didn't know that. Yeah, I'm basically some sort of like medical miracle. I'm joking, but I was made to feel like that, literally. So that means when the robot, which is a really expensive piece of kit, it gets attached onto you, and the surgeon operates it a bit like a video game. Slightly traumatic when you think about it, but equally science is great. So that's what I had done. I had stage 4 endometriosis. It was on my bowel, on my bladder, a little bit on my ovary, and my kidneys were a little bit fused. I think, let me just double check, because we're here so we need accuracy, because I know that you're going to want to know exactly where it was. So I had a robotic adhesiologist, bowel, left fallopian tube, left ovary, bladder, left ureterologist. Look, I'm not a doctor. Okay. Excision of endometriosis, rectal endometriotic nodule shaving, cystoscopy, cystomy repair and dihydrotubation, which I know is when they flush your fallopian tubes out. So there was a lot going on there, put it that way. When I initially went in, it was literally going to be like a 2-hour operation. It ended up being about 5.5. So I'm not going to go in, I keep saying I'm not going to go into it too much, but I just love, like, me being me, I just love backstory, and like, I'm going to assume you've watched my other videos so I can get on with this. As you can see, it was a big operation, and I'm going to say it took us a solid 8 weeks to recover. I'm going to say 2 weeks of that I had the catheter in, and I really mentally struggled with that, like sincerely struggled. I would say the pain wasn't horrendous. I had morphine, I didn't take it when I got home, and my first 3 periods after that were quite painful, because I know a lot of you want to know that. But after my 3rd period, my periods have got easier and easier and easier. Although this month, I've literally just finished my period, and it was so heavy. Like, I'm talking more blood clots than normal, a lot. I have been prescribed tranexamic acid, which helps reduce, or it reduces the bleeding. I'm not going to proclaim to be a doctor or a scientist, so I shouldn't really try and explain these things to you, but you can do your own research on tranexamic acid. I haven't took it because I really don't like taking tablets. That's just me, I really don't. I already take thyroxine every morning because my thyroid packed in as a consequence of my endo. Now I know. This was like last year, about Jan last year, before I had my surgery. Yeah, so I should take tranexamic acid, and I take iron and all of that kind of stuff, because obviously the bleeding is really quite heavy, but the pain has been reduced literally so much. So I would say I haven't got back into exercising completely. My core is absolutely a shadow of its former self. It's so flimsy. I did a Pilates class earlier, and the things I used to be able to do, it simply doesn't exist anymore. My scars are fine. You can't see my one on my belly button, but I've got 2 either side and 1 higher up. You can see them, but they don't bother me. I probably could have looked after them a bit better. When I say look after, I could have moisturised them a bit more, but I felt squeamish touching them because you can feel the scar tissue underneath, and it took a while for my stitches to fall out. I think it took about 12 weeks for my stitches to fully fall out, but it definitely took me around 2-3 months to feel back to normal. I felt like I wanted to be in bed for about 6 weeks. Always remember, when you watch these videos, or when you're researching, every single person is different. Everybody's recovery is going to be completely different. So always just bear that in mind. So exercise, we're just easing into it. we're easing into it. We're not overwhelming ourselves because, you know, I think it does take a long time after having a major surgery for your body to recover. If you think about all the organs that were touched and affected and excised and things that were touched, removed and just bothered, you know, your body's been invaded really, and it's going to take a while for your body and your mind-body connection to come back. I started barre, which is more like ballet, Pilates kind of training. I started that around September. My operation was July. I found that to be quite helpful but also frustrating because my brain was telling my belly and my core to pull in and to hold me up, but it wasn't listening. That's slowly improving, but only just. So my biggest piece of advice for you is be patient. Be patient, because regardless of how big or little your surgery was, you've had surgery and you're not just going to be able to bounce back like that. So in regards to the pain, like I mentioned, my periods are, I want to say, 90% improvement on pain. I used to get a lot of pain around my legs, around my pelvis area, tummy, cramps, lower back, unbearable. Overall, it was just excruciating. My pain has improved between 80 and 90%. That to me is just a huge win, especially the last 3 months. Sadly though, I have now got this after effect of my period, maybe about 3 or 4 days later. For the past 4 months, I've had like a huge flare up on my bowel where it's just agonizing, almost like constipation, IBS, like just almost like contractions. Maybe I can only imagine like when you're going into labor, like just horrendous pain. And this normally happens and lasts for about a half a day solid, and then about a day either side-ish, maybe like a 2-day thing where I'm like floored, exhausted, in so much pain, and then it eases off and it goes. I'm hoping that was just a coincidence for the last 4 months. I really am, because when I spoke to the bowel specialist at the launch last week, he was like, it sounds like it could be a different issue altogether, but also your hormones that alter and change and really have a lot to do with your mindset and your mentality, but also your physicality, do affect your bowel. So when you're after your period, it can affect your bowel and your bowel movements. So I'm hoping, and I'm really crossing my fingers that I'm not going to have that this month, because if I didn't, I would be so satisfied and happy. So it's just me jumping in. I'm sat editing and I realised I didn't mention my bladder. So just a really brief one. I had a nodule on my bladder and I used to get a lot of pressure and used to need a wee so frequently. That improved tenfold once I had my catheter out. I have noticed in the past month or so that I have been waking up through the night for a wee and needing a wee more frequently. Not 100% sure what that is. Sometimes I don't know whether it's psychological. I mean, it couldn't be through the night, but yeah, that's not ideal. But I choose to focus on the positives, and I am going to drop my surgeon an email just to see what he thinks about that. And yeah, just want to tell you everything that I've experienced for full transparency. And because I'm such a worrier and I do have health anxiety, there is a part of me that's like, is the endo coming back? Has he missed some? Has he touched my bowel in a way that he shouldn't have? Like, you know, like not intentionally, but like, has it been knocked? Or, you know, was the robotic surgery the right thing? Like, I agreed to it all because I was on my knees, but like I didn't really know what I was going into, of course, because none of us do. So yeah, that's my only thing at the minute. But would I recommend getting surgery? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Surgery is the gold, well, it's classed as the gold standard of treatment options for endometriosis. You can be offered hormones, you can be offered painkillers, physiotherapy you can get, acupuncture, but surgery is classed as a gold standard, and I can see why. You've got this endometriosis on other organs within your body which they shouldn't be there, and to get some relief from that, taking those away, of course, is hopefully going to be the best solution and is going to give you some relief from your pain. I went into surgery, like I mentioned, I think on my first video, thinking it was going to be one and done. I quickly realised that when I had a huge influx of people who have endometriosis and different accounts who like to raise awareness for endometriosis, that actually, Beth, you're being very naive there, hun. This isn't going to be your only surgery, or it might be your only surgery, but things need to change. So around 4 months post-surgery, I realised, okay, so we're gonna have to make some lifestyle changes here. And I didn't realise, I must say, I did not have any idea about the impact that your lifestyle can have on your internal physical health. And with a lot of research and making some really nice connections online and making a really, really close friendship with a lovely girl called Sarah, she really held my hand and led me down the road of trying to go toxic free. So, you know, trying to explain this to people, people are like, what? And I was a bit like, what? At the beginning. It makes perfect sense to me now. If you think about your body and your hormonal system, it's all governed by your thyroid and your endocrine system. In 2020, my thyroid was perfect. Had it checked. Beginning of 2021, it was fine. And by the end of 2021, it was gone. My antibody test was positive, which means my immune system was attacking my thyroid. And again, sorry about the non-scientific description, I now have to take thyroxine, and there's a huge link between endometriosis and hypothyroidism. And the thing is, the longer your endometriosis is left untreated, and don't forget I was on the pill, I was 26, and then I come off the pill. I've had that endometriosis since I had my period. I've always had bad periods. I went to see the gynecologist several times in my teens, in my early 20s, for various reasons, and I was never ever told about endometriosis, what it could be. Maybe it could be that, never ever. And I even in 2020 had a colonoscopy and a gastroscopy, which you can go and watch on my channel as well. Believe it or not, I didn't film in there, but I filmed before and after. That was because I have such horrendous tummy issues, and endometriosis wasn't mentioned there either, so I couldn't see it, or maybe they weren't looking for it. Again, just got off track there, so just excuse me. But the longer your endometriosis is left, the more it can start affecting different things. My pain just kicked it up like 10 notches when I was living in Manchester at the end of last year, and I started to get taken seriously eventually. My thyroid just, my endocrine system clearly just couldn't cope and packed in. To add to that, because I was going to mention fatigue, and I have a trait called alpha thalassemia trait, and that is a rare blood trait that is found along the coastline of Africa and the Mediterranean, and I've actually got it from my mum and my granddad on my white side, and it's very rare that it's found in white people. It's a fact. When I go to the GP or to the doctors, they're always like, oh, that must be from your Iranian side, and I'm like, no, it's not, it's actually from my English side. So that already fatigues me, because it means you've got less oxygen in your red blood cells, and it's really scientific-y, but always had that. And then to add to that, I've now got hypothyroidism, so that's really hugely tiring. And then on top of that, I have endometriosis, which fatigues the body massively as well. So energy levels come and go. If you just have endometriosis on its own, I think having surgery, you would find after a few months your energy levels would really improve. Mine definitely did, because you've got to remember, started taking my thyroxine in January, had my surgery in July. I do feel way more energetic than I ever had done before that, but it comes and it goes. But the reason I got onto that was because I was talking about your endocrine system. So in a lot of your traditional beauty products, in a lot of your household products, in a lot of the food that we eat, there's a lot of toxins and chemicals. And in particular, you're looking at your parabens, your preservatives, and pesticides on food, and endocrine disruptors, xenoestrogens, which are found on non-stick pans and stuff like that. So if you can imagine, I am trying to recover from my operation, 4 months in, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to change all of my products. So I literally just, it was almost like I got all my products and just started like throwing them in the air, because I was like, I need to prolong the benefits of this surgery. And you know, I'm not saying there's like endless scientific evidence, or that if you change your diet completely and get all of the chemicals and toxins out of your house, that you're going to be cured from endometriosis. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but there has been a lot of research, and there's a lot of people out there that claim that by eradicating themselves of all of the toxic chemical products in their house and that they use on their skin, it has really improved their symptoms. I've even got friends who've done it and have benefited from it. So naturally, being somebody who is extremely obsessed with having a very gorgeous smelling clean house, being a person who is, I want to say, a skincare addict, I love skincare, and beauty products don't even go there. I'm the girl that goes and spends £300 in Sephora when I was like 22 and just literally had no money because I'd spent it all in Sephora when I went to America, and I had about 40 MAC lipsticks. Who needs 40 MAC lipsticks? Do you know what I mean? Like, no. So like this, I knew this was going to be like a big transition for me and I didn't know where to start. Don't do what I did and overwhelm yourself. I was in the hospital bed beside a lovely young girl who was getting a hysterectomy, sadly, and because of endometriosis, and she told me to help with healing, have bone broth and have carrots, and I was like, okay. But I was like, I want crisps, I want McDonald's, and guess what? I went out and I had what I wanted, and that's fine too. But now I see where she was coming from because she was ahead of the game. She knew what I didn't know. So, lifestyle changes that I've made. I have now swapped out all of my skincare. All of my skincare is now either Tropic, Evolve or by Sarah. They are the 3 brands which I've swapped all my skincare out for. Comment below if you want me to do a full-on haul of everything that I use. There's another brand that I've just found online which looks really, really good, and I'm gonna have a look at it. I might order a little trials kit before I recommend it. But what you want to be looking for is ingredients that are clean, ingredients that you can pronounce, ingredients that are organic and no preservatives, no parabens. If we can do away with fragrance, that would be great too. But also, you've got to live. What I realised was I was stressing myself out, and I don't want you to do that as well. I think by having such high expectations of yourself and then maybe not meeting those high expectations, you're going to end up disappointing, which is going to be, you know, it's a bad vibe. It's bringing your vibe down. It will not help your healing. It's going to make you stressed and upset. Don't do that. What I did was I swapped products out as my other ones were finishing. At first I was going to just order everything, and then I was like, no, come on Beth, had a stern word with myself, and I was like, come on Beth, you don't need to go to those lengths. Let's just swap in and out as we're finishing products, because I didn't want to chuck things out either. So skincare I've got nailed, and body care I've got nailed. Shampoo, I'm on a journey with shampoo. I'm on a journey. I've tried Love Hair, good. I tried Tropic shampoo and conditioner. I didn't love it, I'm not gonna lie. I love their skincare and body care, unreal. Shampoo and conditioner, not great, but I know that they're hopefully formulating something else that's going to be a good one. And I've tried a few other like more smaller brands. I'm yet to find one that I totally love. I've got a lot of hair and I've got a lot of thick hair, so it needs something that's going to really clean it, but I'll keep you posted on that. Then switching over to household items, I got rid of all of my traditional. The only thing I've had to keep, I'm not going to lie, is bleach. If you live in a house with a man, you ain't getting rid of the bleach, okay? We got rid of the bleach and we replaced it with a bleach alternative. Not strong enough, not strong enough. So I try not to use the bleach. It's just so toxic, and we want to reduce the toxic load on my body because inflammation is not good for endometriosis. Endometriosis is already a hugely inflammatory disease. We don't want to add to that. My biggest goal is to prolong the benefits of my surgery and prolong it returning. I don't want it to return, so anything that I can do to help, I will. So I've swapped out a lot of my products to non-toxic cleaning products. I've got Purdy and Fig. I've tried, what other ones have I tried? A lovely one in a pink bottle. A lot of the clean ones are where you get a refillable, you add a little bit of the product in, you add the water and it works brilliantly. And I've got a lot of Method products. Now they're not 100% perfect and clean, but they're better than your traditional. So again, transitioned, moved away from certain ingredients, and again, if you want more information I can do a separate video. And then food, I've tried to shop now more organic, but if you can't afford it because it is expensive, apple cider vinegar, bicarb of soda, wash your veg, make sure all the pesticides are off it, and just get rid. And because they're just not good. If you think of the men with the hazmat suits on who are like putting all the pesticides on the veg, you're like, if you're doing that, then it's clearly not good for me to ingest. All of these things are like common sense when you know how and when you realize what the ingredients are, but before that it's so mainstream and so like widely accepted just to not even question things, that of course these things are causing us to have disruption in our endocrine system and altering our hormones and our fertility status and the balance of where we're at. So just do a little bit of research. I'm not going to say, like I said, it's not going to cure you, but I think it's only going to benefit your health. And if you'd like an app that is really, really good at giving you a little bit of insight, you can download the Yuka app. You can scan a product, skincare, beauty product, and it'll tell you how good it is out of 100. So I think that's a great one as well to help you get started. Like I say, I think this deserves a whole video on its own, so I'm just gonna move on from that. So after surgery, it is recommended that you start taking hormones, or you get the coil, or you know, sometimes people are put into like medically induced menopauses to like switch off the ovaries and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't want any hormones. I still don't want any hormones. You know, there's a debate about whether being on the pill helps. You know, some people even go as far to say, some GPs, that it's going to stop endometriosis. I don't believe that to be true. But regardless, me and my partner want to have a baby, and I don't want to be on anything at the minute. And it's just a shame that if you're a young person, as soon as you turn around and you recover, they're going to try and ask you to go on hormones. Always remember that you've got choices. You have to do what's right for you. Don't feel pressurized. Don't feel pressurized to take any contraception or be put on any form of hormones if you don't want to be. Always know you've got a choice, and you've also got some resources out there that you can access. I think I've grown up like just really trusting the medical world, and I think now I look back and I realise that I probably should have asked more questions, and there's still some questions I don't have answered from my surgeon. So I am going to email him and just ask about certain elements of my surgery. Ask as many questions as you can, get as much information as you can, because what it is when you come out of surgery, and for the next few weeks you're just going to be surviving, and then you start to think, and did that happen, or I wonder if that was the case, or I've been having that symptom, has that alleviated? Like for me, I get that really loud noise in my belly, and it moved after surgery from the left hand side where all of my endo was pretty much to the centre. So I've now got this really loud noise, so irrational, that just makes a noise all the time, and it's like rah. And I'm like, really? I thought that would have went. I think for me, working with the Endometriosis Foundation now, I realise that having met lots of other women who have endometriosis, that I didn't push as much as I should have initially. I didn't realise what it was. I didn't realise that endometriosis was as serious as it is, and I also trusted what the doctor said as gospel. My advice to you would be, if you're waiting for surgery or you're not being listened to, don't give up. Take a friend, a family member, a partner to the GP with you. Explain, you know what your symptoms are, you know your own body. Ask to be referred to a gynecologist. I wish I had done that. I wish I had pushed, and I used to be there a lot. I'd go back to the doctors, I've got tummy issues, period issues, I've got tummy issues, I've got period issues. Imagine, I'm 33 now, and I was just never taken seriously. So please don't leave it too late, because this is when other things come into play, other health conditions. You know, it just gets worse. Your endometriosis can start, you know, will start off at stage 1, and you know, it'll go on to stage 4. In fact, you just don't know what's happening inside your body. I wish you could just zip it open and just have a look, but you can't. And then, you know, my thyroid issue and just fertility and all of these different things, it's definitely better to be seen earlier rather than later. So don't be put off, and don't just take the GP's answers as gospel, because if I had I'd still be sat here with IBS. You know, there is a chance that I do have IBS, because the gut is so closely linked with endometriosis. I mean, the gut and the brain. The gut is just your hub for your nervous system and your immune system, your nervous system. It's got so much going on, and it's so close to the region and what we're talking about that it is highly affected. But just because you have IBS doesn't mean you don't have endo, you know? I genuinely hope I've answered everything. I want to reiterate that having the surgery has been the best thing that I could have done for myself. Now I'm more informed. I will say I'm more anxious, because sometimes ignorance is bliss. And my friend told me in lockdown, you've definitely got endometriosis, you've struggled all these years and raw. And I was like, what even is that? And I thought, I don't want to have endometriosis when I researched it. And then spoke to the GP, and she was like, well, you know, if you do have it, this was in lockdown, so it was over the phone, then it's going to be a huge long waiting list. And you know, and kind of dissuaded me. So obviously things got worse for the next 2 years until I got taken seriously properly. I'm glad I've done it, and I hope the benefits of this last for a long time, and I hope that you get the care that you need. And please don't stop crying, because ultimately we shouldn't be living with something that is debilitating and stops us living life. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I get so many messages every day about how far should you push, you're in pain, you don't know where to go, you've had a clear ultrasound. Ultrasounds maybe aren't the best. I know I had clear ultrasounds in the past. My most latest one did actually show that there was a shadow. To my understanding at this point, I don't think the ultrasounds are as sophisticated enough to be able to identify endometriosis, but don't just do what I did in the past and be like, oh, you've got a clear ultrasound, it's fine, and just skip off and know that you're in chronic pain. Say, okay then, right, well, Brill, but can we do some more tests, please? You know, you have to just be persistent, because at the end of the day, it's not going to go away and it needs to be sorted. So be strong, be persistent, and I really truly hope you get the answers and the diagnosis that you need. And I will continue, and I know many other people will continue to advocate and create awareness so that people know about this condition, and so that people know it's a full body condition, and so people know that it's debilitating and life altering, and people know how to pronounce it because we're saying it so much. I'm going to continue to raise awareness so that hopefully myself and everybody that I'm working with and everybody else in the world who are trying to create awareness, a combined effort can make a bigger change. The average time to be diagnosed is somewhere between 7 and 9 years. It was actually more than that for me, and that's not good enough. So I'm going to leave this video here. It's a long one as usual. I really hope that has answered a few of your questions. I really want to stress that surgery has been such a great thing for me, and I would highly recommend it. Don't be scared. I never had an operation before my surgery and I was so scared, and I'm just glad I did it. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. You can find me on Instagram, Beth Dunleavy. Send me a DM, comment down below if you've got any other questions. On Instagram you can find 2 highlights of endometriosis real time of when I was going through my recovery, and also lots of reels and different information on there that might help answer any questions that you have still got. But I'm sending you lots of love, and don't forget, you are strong, you're amazing, and you are worthy. I know how hard it is and how depleting it can be. It's not only a physical struggle, but it's a mental one too, but just know that we're all in it together, and I'm sending you lots of love.